Before Rome, before Greece, an entire world existed, a world of kingdoms now buried under sand, ash, and silence. They ruled with bronze swords, worshipped strange gods, and built empires that suddenly disappeared. This is the story of the Bronze Age, and why its civilizations were wiped out like they never existed. The birth of the Bronze Age. Around 3300 BCE, something revolutionary happened. Humans figured out how to combine copper and tin. The result? Bronze, stronger than stone, sharper than copper. And with it, civilization leveled up. Suddenly, small villages became walled cities. Farmers turned into warriors, and trade exploded. Not just goods, but culture, power, and war. From the Nile to the Indus Valley, a wave of new civilizations emerged, all shaped by this new metal. But the Bronze Age wasn't peaceful. It was the era of rising kings, burning cities, and secrets lost in the dust. Sumer and the rise of empire. The first major player? Sumer. Deep in Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, they built cities like Uruk and Ur, complete with ziggurats, law codes, and armies. They invented writing, they invented kings, and they turned the chaos of nature into organized society. But Sumer wasn't one big happy empire. It was city versus city, constant war over water, land, and power. And while they gave us cuneiform and the wheel, they also gave us history's first recorded wars. Then came Sargon of Akkad. Around 2300 BCE, he united the region by force, creating the world's first true empire. His armies marched across Mesopotamia, crushing rivals and rewriting borders. He didn't just rule land, he ruled time, declaring himself king of the four corners of the world. But even that empire didn't last. After just over a century, Akkad collapsed. Why? Famine, rebellion, maybe climate change. Whatever the cause, the world's first empire vanished, and Mesopotamia went back to chaos. Egypt, the kingdom of immortality. While Mesopotamia fought itself to pieces, Egypt did the opposite. It unified early and ruled for centuries. With the Nile as its lifeline, Egypt became a Bronze Age superpower. Stable, wealthy, and obsessed with the afterlife. Pharaohs weren't just kings, they were gods in human form. They commanded armies, hoarded gold, and built monuments so massive, they still stand today. The pyramids weren't just tombs, they were warnings. This is how powerful I am, even in death. During the Middle Kingdom, Egypt centralized its rule, expanded trade, and fortified its borders. But it was the New Kingdom, Egypt's golden age, when things truly exploded. Military giants like Thutmose III and Ramses II turned Egypt into an empire, stretching into the Levant and Nubia. They clashed with rival powers, signed the world's first known peace treaty, and left behind statues so colossal, they still intimidate. But Egypt's power, like its monuments, started to crack. Invasions, internal decay, and rising enemies would test the god kings to their limits. Egypt versus the Bronze Age giants. Egypt didn't rise alone. Other powers were growing, like the Hittites. Based in Anatolia, the Hittites mastered chariot warfare and iron tools, challenging Egypt's dominance. Their clash at the Battle of Kadesh around 1274 BCE was one of the largest chariot battles in history, brutal, indecisive, and legendary. The result? A draw. But it proved that Egypt was no longer untouchable. From that point forward, Bronze Age superpowers began eyeing each other nervously. Then came a new terror, the Sea Peoples. We still don't know who they were or where they came from, but they hit hard, burning cities, toppling kingdoms, and nearly ending Egypt itself. Ramses III stopped them, barely. And even that victory drained Egypt's strength. Across the Mediterranean, the Bronze Age world was unraveling, and no one saw it coming. The Indus Valley, civilization without a voice. While Egypt and Mesopotamia built empires with armies and kings, the Indus Valley did something different. Around 2600 BCE, massive cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa rose up, with grid-planned streets, advanced drainage, and standardized brickwork. No pyramids, no giant temples, just order and mystery. Their cities had public baths, complex sewage systems, and centralized granaries, features centuries ahead of their time. Homes were uniform, suggesting a society focused on equality rather than elite dominance. They traded with Mesopotamia. Seals from the Indus have been found in ancient Sumer, and yet, despite their complexity, we don't know who ruled them. No palaces, no royal tombs, no readable texts. It's like they built a civilization, then erased their own names. Sometime after 1900 BCE, the cities began to decline. Rivers dried up, trade routes shifted, the uniformity broke down. Slowly, they faded, not with a bang, but a whisper.
Some believe they were displaced or absorbed by Indo-Aryan migrants. New cultural elements appeared in the region. Others argue they never vanished, just transformed into rural societies, leaving the cities behind. Either way, one of humanity's greatest urban experiments ended in silence. Minoans and Mycenaeans, palaces, and warpaths. While ancient Egypt was building pyramids, a seafaring people called the Minoans were rising on the island of Crete. Their cities were built around massive palaces like Knossos, filled with artwork, plumbing, and labyrinthine halls that may have inspired the myth of the Minotaur. The Minoans thrived on trade, not conquest. They spread their influence across the Aegean through ships, not swords. But around 1600 BCE, nature struck back. The volcanic island of Thera, modern-day Santorini, erupted in one of the most powerful explosions in human history. The tsunami and ash fallout devastated Minoan ports. Soon after, their palaces were mysteriously destroyed. Many believe they were invaded, possibly by the Mycenaeans, who wasted no time rising to power. The Mycenaeans were a different breed, mainland warriors, fort builders. They left behind gold masks, weapons, and war stories. They're the likely source of Homer's Iliad, the epic of the Trojan War. And while the real Troy may have been very different, archaeologists have found evidence of a city destroyed by fire around 1200 BCE. But then, even the Mycenaeans fell. Cities burned, palaces emptied, writing vanished. Within a generation, the Aegean world had collapsed, and Greece entered a dark age that would last centuries. The day the ancient world died. Around 1200 BCE, the ancient world began to collapse. Not just one kingdom, all of them. The Mycenaeans, the Hittites, the city-states of the Levant, even mighty Egypt was pushed to the brink. It was as if civilization itself was under attack. Palaces were burned to their foundations, cities like Ugarit sent desperate letters begging for help, but the help never came. Their messages ended mid-sentence. Silence followed. Archaeologists have found signs of abandoned towns, unburied bodies, mass graves. Writing systems like Linear B disappeared. Monumental architecture stopped. For nearly 300 years, the world went dark. What caused it? Droughts and failed harvests may have triggered famines. Earthquakes destabilized cities. Mass migrations and internal rebellions overwhelmed weakened states. And then, the Sea Peoples arrived. Whoever they were, they destroyed coastal cities, from Anatolia to Canaan. It wasn't just a collapse, it was a system-wide failure, a chain reaction that consumed everything. One kingdom falls, then its neighbors can't trade, then their armies starve, and then they fall. Civilization didn't die all at once. It crumbled, one piece at a time. When the smoke cleared, the world had changed. The great cities were gone, the palaces silent, the scripts unreadable, and the people who once ruled it all, forgotten. From the ashes of that collapse, new powers would rise. Greece, Persia, Rome, but the civilizations of the Bronze Age remain buried in ruins and mystery. How could the most advanced societies on Earth vanish almost overnight? And why did no one stop it? Maybe the better question is, what would happen if it happened again?